Howdy, Smite fans. J-Mac here. The SMITEPro League is back, and the road to Masters has begun as Week 1 of the SPL has just wrapped up. We got to take a look at all 8 teams as each of them got to compete in a couple of matchups this weekend. Let's take a look back at those matches and see how everything shook up in this week's episode of the SPL Weekly Recap. Set number 1 of the new season pit the Atlantis Leviathans against the Highland Ravens. The Leviathans had the Ravens backed into a corner, but the siege defense by the Ravens nets them a win in the first game. And that momentum carried into game number 2 as the Ravens cleared the Leviathans 2-0. Leading into that was the Jade Dragons and the Camelot Kings match. The dueling of the Kings controls game number 1, with Genetics reminding the world just how good he is on Maui. Game number 2 started off great for the Dragons, but the magic damage of BMT and Variety reeled the Kings back in and swept the set 2-0 for the Camelot Kings. Saturday started things off with the Styx Ferrymen against the Gilded Gladiators. The Ferrymen made quick work of the Gladiators in Game 1, with Paul and Baskin notching a combined 12-1 KD to start the set off. Despite the more active jungle and solo, the Gladiators fell once more to the Ferrymen to take the set 2-0. Next up was the Eldritch Hounds and the Highland Ravens. The Ravens controlled the early game of all 3 games, however, only it was their game number 1 mid-game where they stumbled, dropping one to the Hounds, but dominating games 2 and 3 for a 2-1 win. Lastly, we saw the Oni Warriors and the Atlantis Leviathans duke it out, where game number 1 was dominant across the board for the Warriors. Game 2 had, in Panatom's word, a bit of trolling and a little disrespect against the Leviathans, who crushed the Oni Warriors to tie up the set. In game number 3, the Warriors dialed it back into a more standard comp, rolled over the Levi's for a 2-1 win. And on Sunday, we kicked things off with the Oni Warriors and the Eldritch Hounds. 2 scrappy teams and 2 scrappy games. The Oni Warriors, with a fairly clean game 1, nearly dropped game number 2, if not for a couple blunders where Jake and SOT were able to find great initiations against the Hounds to halt them in place and take the set 2-0. The Camelot Kings and Styx Ferrymen roll into our second set, where Twig sets the pace for an uncontested set by the Camelot Kings as they took down the Ferrymen in decisive 2-0 fashion for the win. Our final set of the weekend was the Gilded Gladiators and the Jade Dragons. Despite how long the games went, the control was almost entirely in the Jade Dragons' favor, as they forced 2 games of hard defense out of the Gladiators, though it just wasn't quite enough from the Gladiators. The Dragons went out 2-0. And there you have it. With Week 1 of the phase now wrapped up, we can take a look at the standings to see how things shook out in that first week of play. The Highland Ravens, the Camelot Kings, and the Oni Warriors all lead undefeated so far 2-0 in their divisions to start things out. But there's still plenty of Smite to be had. 8 more games between each of these teams is sure to shake up some of the standings in these divisions. If you missed out on any of the action, make sure to go over to our YouTube channel SmiteBot and watch things back. Catch our behind-the-scenes content over on our YouTube channel SMITEPro, and tune into the broadcast live on Friday to make sure that you don't miss out on any more of the SMITEPro League. I've been J-Mac Tucker, and this has been the SPL Weekly Recap.